Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. There's lots to get through today. We're trying to hit 750 thumbs up for this video. See if you can help us with that. And share the video with your Celtic friends this morning. Get them right in the mood for the Champions League game tonight. When it comes to subscriber-wise, we're sitting on 18,906. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. It is absolutely free. We're trying to get to 20,000 before the end of the year and beyond. Anyway, and a quick note for Stephen Johnson. Stephen Johnson is one of our fantastic subscribers to the channel. His carer asked for some information. So, Stephen, tell your carer to see this bit of the video. When she goes onto, or he goes onto the home page, and you'll see this section here, our channel members. And if she clicks this area here for join, and then it'll come up with this bit here. And you just click that bit there to join. And then it'll pop up this screen here. So that's that. That's how you do that. And anyway, Kyogo's been talking to the media, and not a lot of people kind of noticed that. It kind of went under the radar slightly. But Kyogo was asked about the Champions League, and it was asked the question: you entered your fourth year with Celtic. Could you share your goals and aspirations for this season? And Kyogo says, I want to entertain the fans who support me, and I'll try to do my best to score as many goals as possible. You're participating in the Champions League again this year. How do you feel about competing in the Champions League this year? He says, also with the new league format starting this year, how excited are you about it? There will be more matches. I think there's a chance of advancing to a higher level. I'm looking forward to competing against good teams and a good group. I'm also excited to see how many goals I can score in the Champions League. And then he was asked, is there any team that you're particularly looking forward to facing? And he said, my own self. And then he said, just kidding. You can tell that Kyogo's the joker in the dressing room, can't you? He said, I get to play against some really good clubs. Last time we lost to Leipzig, so I want to do my best to win this time. You have to do you have any specific roles or goals for yourself at this year's in the Champions League? And he replied, goals. There's nothing special. Nothing better. I do my job and I score goals. I want to score as many as I can and make the people in Japan and around the world know my name. That's what I'm aiming for. And then he said, finally, what kind of performance do you want to show the Japanese fans in the Champions League? Goals, really. Simple as that. He says, as I said earlier, my job is to score goals. I want to score as many as possible and make sure that people know my name and leave a strong impact in the Champions League. I'm determined to do that. I'm determined to do that, says Kyogo. It's all looking good for Celtic going into the Champions League. But how is our team that we play tonight? Celtic do play Slovan Bratislava in the opening match of the Champions League. And let's have a look at how the first opening games of the season has went for both teams. Obviously, Celtic won 2-1 the open day of the season. And then we went on to play Hibernian again. We won 3-1. We played St. Mirren away, and we won 3-1 that. And then we played the Sevco, yes, the Rangers in disguise. And we beat them 3-0 also. That's quite good high score lines from Celtic. And then we played Hearts this weekend. And let's face it, it should have been more than 2-0, but it was only 2-0 against Hearts this weekend with a perfectly good goal from Adamida being ruled as offside back at the halfway line. And anyway, how does Slovan Bratislava compare to their opening of the season? They have also had an interesting opening to the season. They won their first game of the season 2-0. And then they won the next game of the season 3-2. And then they got beat 5-0. Ominous. And they did get beat 5-0. But then again, the very next game, they won 5-0. So that kind of leveled that out. And then the last game that they just played before this game, they won 2-1. And it was seemingly a last-minute goal that scraped through that 2-1 victory. So where can you watch it tonight? You can watch it on TNT Sports in the UK and various other channels around the world, or on your Fire Stick. I know lots of you have your Fire Stick. So let's see what Brendan Rodgers was saying about going
Very
into
excited.
the Champions League again.
It's a special competition, obviously. This club has got a great and rich history in, so yeah, we're excited about it.
He looks awfully excited. He does look genuinely excited to be going into the Champions League this year, which I think is he's got a little bit of buzz about him in this video, doesn't he?
I think it's fantastic over the different types of teams and games that we have. The club going to some of these teams for the first time, and the supporters getting the chance to travel to some great cities. But from a football perspective, it's a great opportunity for us to test our qualities against some of the best teams, and that's always the big challenge from a coaching and a managing perspective.
It is that, and I think that the difference this year, going into this Champions League and not worrying about playing back-to-back games against the same team. In this new format, that you only play the team once, so you've really got one chance to get one over them. And there's no away goals and such in the Champions League this year. Remember, so every goal matters. Every goal matters. It's not going to be the case of we won 2-1. And and there's a chance that if they won 1-0, they can go through on away goals. That doesn't happen this year, which is fantastic for us as fans. And it makes it a little bit more
Premiership fixture or Europa League fixture. Does that change anything in your mindset?
Not really. I think it's normal in terms of it's not. We come into every game and respect every single opponent that we'll play, and obviously there'll be a narrative around this game, which I totally get. But I look at Bratislava, and I only have to go through my own experiences here. They've had 4 games, so 4 ties, 8 games to actually get to this stage. And so the amount of work and fight and spirit they needed to have to reach this level, you can never ever underestimate that. So for some it might not be fashionable. There might be other teams with bigger histories and bigger clubs, but for us, we know that it's a team we have to really respect. But we also know that we're playing at home. We're in a really good mood, playing well, intense, being consistent, and we just want to take that and bring that energy to the stands, and hopefully we can have a really good night. But we know we have to really work hard.
It's interesting that they did have to go through the qualifiers and quite a few qualifiers to get into the Champions League. And hats off to them, because it's not an easy feat going through the qualifiers. As we know, as a club ourselves, it isn't an easy feat to get into the Champions League. Thankfully, we're in a position where we've walked straight into it. And I'm not sure that continues next year, but who cares about next year? It's all about the here and now. If you go to the community tab of the channel, you will also see that there'll be some videos going up of past Champions League encounters. Yes, some past Champions League encounters and some fantastic tifos from the Green Brigade. Just on a side note, people are getting a bit confused with the new channel that I did start, and it's basically to make sure that we get away from having anything to do with Rangers on this channel and the meltdowns. So there is Baz Does Football meltdowns, and one of the funniest ones ever, I think personally, was the meltdown video I did last night of the AC Milan Liverpool game. And one of the Liverpool fans starts talking about Chelsea in the middle of the game and has a complete meltdown about Chelsea. So if you want to join that channel, if you want to look at that channel, it is something a little bit different. If you're wanting to watch some funny football stuff online. Now let's get back to everything about Brendan Rodgers and what he said about last year's campaign. And remember, I was really excited about last year's campaign, and it didn't go as well as what we thought. So what is Brendan's thoughts on the Champions League campaign last year?
I think it was just, listen, if you look at the nuts and bolts of it, people will say you only got 4 points, and then they'll cry about that, and then the season before and the season before. For me, I look at it, I thought last year it was decisive moments, probably apart from the game away in Madrid where we lost the man.
Got annihilated.
And we got punished by a team that got to the quarterfinal, and they made real.
To be fair, we got ripped apart a new one. I mean, I was there in Madrid, and it's just they were playing different level football stuff. So to try and think that we were going to get anything at Madrid, I mean, they just turned up and it was a walk in the park for them, wasn't it?
Real good use of playing against 10 men. I think the other games, I thought we showed up well then, and we could have won the Lazio game. Should never have lost it. So that's a learning. Feyenoord at home, we were good. We won the game. Away in Feyenoord, we were right in the game, had the best opportunities early on. Then we concede just before half time, and then we obviously lose 2 men in the game. So that was it. That was a challenge. So I think there was a lot to learning in it. But for me, looking at it, I'm thinking if we could strengthen the squad, then we could take another step and be closer. And we've been able to do that. So I think that we've seen that through pre-season. We used the games against Man City and Chelsea as Champions League preparation games, and how we set the team up and how we tried to play and work. So I think we arrive into it, hopefully having learned from last season and knowing that at this level, it is about not just the details, the really small details that make the difference. And because every team you play, and like the questions, everyone, the narrative of Bratislava and whatever else, every team comes here thinks they're a big team.
Yes, they do.
When you're a champion of your own country, whatever that country is, then you believe that you're a really good team, and that's why you play in the Champions League. So most teams come with confidence, and the confidence to play, and that's what you always have to respect. But for us, it's still about us and how we play and our work, and I think that hopefully we can show that over the 8 games.
And we all hope that we can do also, Brendan, and get off to a flyer of a start this evening. Now, a lot of people on the channel have been talking about this Champions League campaign, and they've been talking about the fact that at least 10 points is a minimum that they're looking for this season. Any less will be complete failure. Brendan Rodgers was asked about his aspirations and how he obviously is looking to be judged in Europe. A lot of our fans are saying this is where Brendan will be judged, because let's face it, there's not really much competition when it comes to the league at the moment. And a lot of people are still a bit cynical of Brendan Rodgers going into the Champions League. So what is Brendan's thoughts about being judged at this level?
But you judge me however you want to judge me. You know, I've managed big games before, and believe it or not, I've actually won big games. So, but for us as a football club, we want to make that progress from participating to being competitive, and that's. But listen, whether it's domestic or European level, you're always judged. You're getting judged every day you train. You know, every time you train, every time you play at Celtic, it's a real test of your character and mentality. So this is a competition clearly we want to do well in, and we want to grow in. And but I feel we're in a really good place to do that.
We are in a very good place to do that, and it was good that he basically bitch slapped that comment right back to where it should have came from. And you got to admit, I mean, he's a manager that's been there and done it at previous clubs and stuff. You know what I mean? He has won big games at Celtic before, but people will look at that record in the Champions League, and 2 wins out of 18 is what people are talking about. Now, the one thing that we've all seen this season is the fact that Brendan Rodgers has changed his tactics, and we've seen that in pre-season. We've seen it in games so far this season where we're doubling up on opponents in their own half to try and make sure that they can stop play. This was all brought around with the Champions League in mind. He was also asked the question about how he sees his own self-development as a coach and a manager.
It's not so much that. Now, you see it more in players. You see how top players have that belief. I think that's what I've always said. These for Champions League really is belief games. These are the games where I've been fortunate enough in my career to work with world-class players and really top-level players in the European game. And one of the biggest attributes is that belief mechanism they have. They believe they should be there. Yep. And this is what we're trying to develop here, players that can consistently believe that not just participation is enough, but to go and compete. Yep. And you can absolutely do that, you know. But in order to want more, you have to give more, and that's what we aim to do. So, but there's always learning. There's learning. It doesn't matter if it's Bratislava or Borussia Dortmund or St Johnstone. I will always learn, and I will be curious enough to respect all the players, managers that I'm up against, and analyse and assess where I can be better.
Exactly. And all we want is for the manager and the team to be better this season. Now, a dark horse in the Celtic team, I think, is a player that signed on the last day of the transfer window. When we talk about Arne Engels coming into the team, when we talk about Rio Hatate having that experience of previous Champions League, when we talk about Callum McGregor and all the experience he has at this level. And then there's Paulo Bernardo, who comes in with a European pedigree, who's expected to play at this level and perform. But there's a very own little guy from Scotland. Well, he's not so little, but he's 26-year-old and he's Celtic through and through. Yes, Luke McCowan is one player that I think will be a dark horse for Celtic in the Champions League. When you have players that have that belief, he is a player that's came to Celtic who is living the dream. He's a player that's came to Celtic and believes he should be here. And I think he's also got that cocky little confidence about him to go into the Champions League with his head held high and just go under the radar and perform. And I think that is a dangerous, dangerous player to have at Celtic. I can't wait to see if he gets on the pitch the second half tonight. I think he will at some point get some game time. Tell me what you think your predictions are for this evening. I'm going to go 2-1 Celtic. I think it'll be a closer game than what we think. Or can Celtic do the unthinkable? Can Celtic go out and be completely dominant in Europe for the very first time in a home game, turning back the clock, winding back the years? Remember to hit onto the community tab to check out a lot of the older videos that I've been posting throughout the day. And they're already scheduled to go up. Check them out. It is ones from bygone eras when I was watching down the front of 1-1-1. Anyway, on that note, it's game day. Are you nervous or are you excited? I know one thing. I'm completely buzzing for it, and so should you be. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party.